Chapter 2. Black Dog. Not long after, something mysterious occurred that rid us of the captain, though not of his affairs. The winter was severe, and it was clear my father would not live to see the spring. He grew worse every day, and the inn was left to my mother and me to look after. Our hands were too full to worry about our unpleasant guest. One cold January morning, with a layer of frost on the cove and the sun still low, the captain rose earlier than usual. With glass in hand and hat tilted back, he trudged down the beach, his rusty sword swinging under his old blue coat. He strode along, snorting, as if still insulted by Dr. Livesey. Mother was upstairs with father, and I was setting the table when the door opened, and a pale, waxy man with two missing fingers appeared. I had been keeping an eye out for a man with one leg, and here was one who, though he didn't seem like a sailor, had something of the sea about him. I asked what he wanted. He sat down and motioned for me to come near. "Is this here a table for my pal, Bill?" he asked, leering. I told him I knew no Bill, but that the table was for a man we called the captain. "Well," he said, "old Bill would want to be called captain. Has a deepish cut on his right cheek and a funny way about him. Now, is my boy Bill in this here house today?" I told him he was out walking, and he demanded to know where. When I told him, he stood up and made a mock salute. I didn't know what to do. This fellow had a strange manner, and he waited behind the door like a cat for a mouse. Soon enough, we saw the captain approach. "Now," he said, "let's give Bill a little surprise." Saying this, he hit us both behind the door. I could tell he, too, was scared. His heavy breathing gave him away. He loosened his sword and stood ready. When the captain marched through, heading for his breakfast, the stranger called out, trying to sound brave, "Bill!" The captain turned as if he had seen a ghost. "Black Dog," he gasped. "Who else?" asked the thin man. "Ah," he said, "we've seen many good years since I lost these two claws," and with that he held up his terrible hand. "Well," said the captain bluntly, "you found me. Now what is it you want?" The thin man then sent me away. I listened as well as I could to get the sense of their rude talk. Suddenly they started yelling. The chair and table went over, and the captain, with his drawn sword, was chasing Black Dog, who started bleeding from his shoulder. The captain swung again and put a notch in the sign over our door that is there to this day. Despite his wound, Black Dog ran into the distance as if his life depended on it. The captain stood staring after him in a bewildered state. He ran his hands over his eyes, and then suddenly he fainted. The captain was laid out on the floor when my mother came running down the stairs. She called for me, and we both managed to raise his head. He looked pale as death. We could see his wound, but could do nothing to help him until Dr. Livesey arrived and examined him. "He's had a stroke," he said matter-of-factly. The doctor sent me for water and then ripped up the captain's sleeve, which revealed many tattoos. There was one of a man hanging from a noose, beneath which read the name Billy Bones. "Well," said the doctor, "we must now try to save this Billy Bones' life." And with that, he opened the captain's vein. Blood started pouring out, and then the captain awoke crying, "Where is Black Dog?" "There is no Black Dog here. You've had a stroke, and I saved your life, and that against my will." So saying, the doctor and I with much trouble helped the captain into his bed. He had drawn enough blood for the captain to lie at rest for a week. One more stroke like that, the doctor warned, and he would be finished for good. Chapter 3. The Black Spot. When I next saw the captain, he was pulling himself from his bed and begging me to come closer. I did so, and then he barked out, "I can't lie here for a week. I've been seeing visions of old Flint himself. Now, tell me," he said, "have you seen that sailor?" I asked him if he meant Black Dog. "No, not Black Dog. There's worse than him. They may hand me the death note we call a black spot, and they're after my sea chest. Now ride to get the doctor and tell him to call all hands to me here. I was Flint's first mate, and I'm the only one knows where the treasure's at. He told me where it was hid before he died. Keep your eye open for the man with one leg and Black Dog, and I'll share it all with you. Upon my honor." With that, he collapsed. But I did not ride to seek the doctor's help, because that very night my kind father passed away. His death was so sudden, I could hardly spare a moment to think of the captain. He would upset us all with his bad behavior on the very night before the funeral. As we mourned, he sang old sea songs, scowling and growling like an old blind dog. And then, the day after the funeral, I was sitting out by the back door, just thinking of my father, when a strange blind man drew near, hunched over a knobbly old stick. He called out, asking where he was, and I answered the Admiral Benbow. When he drew close, I saw that he was eyeless and hooded, and suddenly he had my wrist in a deathly grip. "Now, boy," he said, "take me to the captain, or I will break your arm. Take me to him, and when we are near, say, 'Here is a friend for you, Bill.'" He then twisted my arm hard and marched me into the inn, where I yelled out as he had commanded. The captain sat up, suddenly fully awake, looking terrified and mortally sick. He tried to rise, but was too weak. "Now, Bill, sit where you are," said the blind man. "I can't see, but I can feel a finger stirring. Business is business. Now, hold out your left hand. Boy, take his left hand by the wrist and bring it near to my right." I did as he told me, and he dropped something from his hand into the captain's. "There," he said. "That's done." And without uttering another word, he leapt out the door with terrible speed. When the captain regained his sense, he looked into his palm with horror, saying, "10 o'clock. 6 hours left. We'll get them yet." With that, he sprang to his feet, suddenly clutched his throat, and fell to my feet. I ran to him, but all in vain. He had died, and, though I never liked him, I burst into tears. It was the second death I had known in the space of 2 days.